This is gonna either be a very short video or a very long video depending on how upset I get when I talk. I think we need fresh TBC servers, and I am gonna talk about two things, two little two-parter video. The mistake it was to not give us fresh TBC and why fresh TBC matters. First of all, the obvious part, we didn't get fresh TBC for TBC Classic. They skipped that entire idea, they didn't do it, and in my opinion it was a huge mistake. And now the reason that Blizzard doesn't do fresh TBC, they didn't do it at the time at least, is they have a very weird policy that they do not merge servers. They would rather have 1,000 dead servers than merge a server, and that is luckily something that they changed their minds on for Rato the Lich King, because we did get fresh Rato the Lich King and they did merge dead servers in Sword and Rato the Lich King. That happened. So at the very least it would seem that they relinquish in their policy of fresh servers. At the very least they could do a fresh server now. And why do I talk about the merging servers and fresh servers? Well, here's the thing, right? If you make two fresh servers, because you gotta make at least two fresh servers every expansion, right? Like a PvE and a PvP server per region. If they never merge them down, if they never kill the dead servers, every expansion you got two more servers. It will be like a bunch of dead servers. You gotta be able to merge them after the expansion is over, right? So that is the reason that we didn't get fresh TBC. If I wasn't so cynical, I would say that they never merged servers before because they want you to buy a transfer. I mean, let's be honest, that's probably the reason, but whatever, they changed their minds. In Rato the Lich King they understood the value of fresh, and I think Blizzard now is a little more motivated to do a fresh, but I am gonna make my case. I am gonna try to convince Blizzard why we need fresh. First of all, fresh is extremely attractive for new players. If you're gonna start playing in TBC and you do not have a character in vanilla, right? Are you gonna go to the server that is full of level 60 people that got all the gear and all the gold? Or are you gonna go to a server that everybody is starting out at the same time, that you can farm dungeons with them, that you can play and everybody is at the same point in the game as you? I think it is pretty obvious that it is a lot more attractive for a new player to go to a place that is full of new players. So I think TBC Fresh would get a lot more people to come back. I think TBC Fresh would be big, but there is also the entire content angle of it, you know, like the marketing of it. Like if you got every streamer starting over in Fresh, that's like 2 weeks of content at least, you know, that goes on Twitch and everywhere. So the word of mouth, the community, it gets all more engaged with the TBC launch, and that is overall good for the game too. But having that said, the real value of Fresh to me is not really in the marketing, although that's a good thing. I think the transition from vanilla to TBC is a problem. There is a main big elephant in the room, and that is that a lot of people are gonna reroll. There is very few warlocks in vanilla, for example, and warlock is the best DPS in TBC. There is no shamans in the alliance, there is no paladins in the horde, and you're gonna need those people to reroll. I myself am going a prot paladin in TBC, that's what I'm gonna roll into. But that's not even the worst part, okay? Because if we go to vanilla right now, if you look at the class distribution in vanilla, you're gonna see that it's pretty stupid. You got, for example, 455,000 warriors, and then you got mage, which is like the second most popular, is gonna be 400,000, and then you got 200,000 warlocks. Actually, if you combine tank and DPS, you got like 3 times more warriors than warlocks, for example. You got 160,000 just about druids in here, then you got 300,000 priests, and you have a shockingly low amount of shamans. You have 165,000. That's obviously because there is only shamans in one faction, same with the paladin, right? So half the player base cannot even play a shaman or a paladin respectively, and that means that for better or for worse, right now about 40% of the player base is either a DPS warrior or a tank warrior, period. Now, a raid in TBC is 25 people, right? If the warriors do not reroll in TBC, we are talking about 10 warriors per raid. A raid in TBC cannot accommodate 10 warriors. If you take more than 2 warriors, you're considered like a crappy raid in TBC, right? Like you can, like DPS warrior is not even that bad, prot warrior is decent, they are not bad, but the way TBC works is you cannot stack warriors. Nobody is gonna stack 10 warriors in a raid. That is stupid. So we are looking at a very significant amount of these 400 455,000 warriors right here. Those people are gonna have to respec. They are gonna have to reroll, change to another class. There is not enough raids for them to be in. Okay, if they wanna keep playing, they cannot keep playing a warrior. We will have to see about like, I don't know, like at least 6 times less warriors. And that freaking sucks. Let alone all the people that are gonna have to go Shaman, let alone all the people that are gonna have to go Paladin. A huge amount of people are gonna reroll from Vanilla to TBC. Now, I do not think that's a big problem in Rato the Lich King, for example, because by that point, the class rosters are very even, very distributed, you know, there is not a high concentration of one class. Maybe there is a lot of Warlocks, maybe, but it is not nearly as drastic as this. And I think asking so many people to reroll is gonna be a hard thing to ask to begin with. And if we do not do fresh, a lot of those people are not gonna bother, and a lot of those people are gonna quit. There is also, of course, the matter of the world first race. Well, not really world first, that's cringe, right? But the pace at the start of the progression, right? Contrary to popular belief, Nax Rama's gear is pretty decent. You can show up to Karazhan in Nax Rama's gear, and yes, it is not best in slot, but it is almost pre-raid best in slot. Nobody's gonna bat an eye at you, okay? Like, yes, you could get a blue sword with expertise on it, or you could get Thunder Fury. It has almost the same DPS, and it has a threat modifier on it that is also AoE, and it also reduces the attack speed of the mobs. Is Thunder Fury as good as the expertise sword from Black Moraz? No, but it is like a 10% difference at best, okay? Like, you can show up with Thunder Fury into TBC and nobody is gonna bat an eye to you. So I do think that having Nax Rama's gear in TBC will ruin progression, because nobody is going to hit the first week of Karazhan in full best in slot, right? It doesn't happen. You got a daily lockout on the dungeons. So even if you're 70 from the first day, you are not statistically, right? You are not gonna have every item. But if you got Nax Rama's geared people, they will. They are gonna have something very close to whatever TBC dungeons have to offer from day one. People are not gonna do dungeons, they are gonna go straight into Karazhan. A lot of the item progression is ruined, and I think we've seen a lot of that in Classic already with the new PvP system and how much it is damaging the community. The guild, the raid progression is not only trivialized, obsoleted, and I think this is gonna be part of that problem too. Let's take a look at some comparisons here. You could, for example, go for Profession gear, get your Shadow Whip set, which is gonna be very expensive and a huge part of the grind, and this is gonna be what every Warlock is gonna be working on. You could, or you could get tier 3 and you could get like 20 less spell power and get 1% crit instead. Like, yes, this is technically better. Is every Warlock gonna have this set day one? No. All the tier 3 people are gonna have a huge advantage. And that's fine, okay? If you guys wanna go full tier 3 into TBC, that there is nothing wrong with that. You know, you prepared, you got everything set, and you wanna enjoy your gear, God bless you. But if everybody is forced to reroll, you know, like every warrior has to reroll, and you gotta compete with people that are on almost pre-raid best in slot from the start, that freaking sucks. And I think another problem with not having fresh would be leveling, because if everybody's low levels, everybody's doing dungeons with each other, everybody's progressing, everybody's trying to get their stuff done before the pre-patch ends. You got like usually a 2-week period to level up before TBC comes out properly. And what's gonna happen is we're gonna have a mages boosting everybody that wants to level up a new character. Like if you're a try-hard guild, right? Imagine if you're like a super hardcore guild, not even super, right? Like if you actually care, you are gonna have people reroll to shamans in the alliance or paladins in the horde, and you're gonna have mages from that guild boost them, because you absolutely need shamans and paladins to raid. Maybe it is not as huge a deal in the horde, but like, imagine doing Karazhan without bloodlust. That's gonna freaking suck. And if you are not in a guild that is willing to boost people, you know, to get some mages together and boost people to 70 as soon as possible, your chances of finding a shaman or a paladin for your raid, if you are not in a hardcore guild that is willing to boost people into that, is gonna be pretty slim. So ironically, that might make the raids a lot harder for the average player, not to mention annoying. Most people are not gonna get 70 in 14 days, right? Like, most people are not gonna do that. But if it is fresh, everybody got the same share of classes and it is not a problem anymore. I would never play a shaman in vanilla. Resto shaman is so boring, man. I hate it. But in TBC, it is awesome. I am sure there is a lot of people that think that way about other classes. I am sure there is people that do not like warlocks, for example, in Vanilla, but they love them in TBC. And once again, from TBC to Rato the Lich King, it is not nearly as big a deal, because if you like the warlock in TBC, it is pretty similar in Rato the Lich King. You know, there is a lot less drastic changes of classes. There is a lot less reasons to reroll. But your leveling experience in non-fresh is gonna suck in comparison. It just will suck. Are there gonna be people leveling in non-fresh too? Yeah, sure. But it is not the same when it is not everybody in the server. And finally, the economy. And this might be the big one. Okay, TBC raiding is kinda cheap. There is only one glaring issue on TBC, and that's Terocone. Hopefully, if we complain enough on Twitter, they are gonna boost Terocone farming in some way or another. Terocone is kinda the Black Lotus of TBC, not quite, but it is kind of like a scarce resource that is a bit of a problem. But aside from that, okay, all your gold in TBC goes to professions. You gotta get that Frozen Shadow Weave, like I just showed you. You gotta get your Dragon Strikes. You gotta make 2 of these actually. They are amazing weapons. A lot of people are gonna have to go leatherworking to get the drums. You know, this is like a mini Bloodlust, so you also gotta do that. They put a cooldown on them now. You get like a debuff, so you cannot spam them, but a lot of people are still gonna have to get this. So there is a lot of gold to be put into TBC early on. And if we go from an anniversary server into TBC, straight up with all the gold we have today, the prices of everything are gonna be absolutely insane. Nobody is gonna be able to afford Frozen Shadow Weave. It is gonna be absolutely ridiculous. In Fresh though, that inflation didn't kick in yet, so the first month or so is gonna be like pretty reasonable, and a lot of people are gonna have a more decent progression of farming their gold to get their sets, instead of, you know, the hell that is the current classic economy. And no, I am not saying that fresh economy is better. I am saying that for a month it is better, then it turns into the same as every time, you know, like that's not gonna change. But yes, I wanted to make this point because I think people are not talking about it nearly enough, and if we do not get fresh TBC servers, I'm gonna be really freaking mad, okay? That's gonna suck. But now tell me something, would you personally play fresh, or would you keep your characters from anniversary or playing like a non-fresh server? Like, I would like to get the ratio, the proportion of people that would play fresh to the people that don't. Maybe you are happy with your character, maybe you wanna keep playing a warrior, maybe you wanna keep playing your class, and that's fine, right? But I really wanna know, because to me it is really no choice. Subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.